Welcome back to Autopolitan 2. In this event, the cars will be tasked with facing the Endurodrome, a notoriously difficult course that wants nothing more than to destroy these cars. In part 1 of this event, 6 cars will be attempting to defeat this course and simultaneously set the best time possible. Points will be awarded based on how many contenders sit behind each performance, meaning if a car did better than 5 other cars, it will get 5 points. I did not finish when this challenge will result in 0 points, so best of luck to all these cars. Before we begin this event, the Autopolitan officials have been recently playing with the idea of bringing on a team racing driver. However, due to our considerably lacking insurance policy, we were unable to find anyone who was really all that interested in the job. However, one of the officials had the great idea of ordering pizza and just offering the guy extra tips per lap he did. So, without further ado, this is our new team racing driver, a pizza guy. It looks like the officials want to speak with him one last time before letting him step into the vehicles. It seems that they're breaking apart now, and looks like we're about to begin today's events. And without further ado, let's begin event 4. First up to attempt this event is the Accolade. Now, this car can be a little bit of a handful sometimes. I mean, it was literally designed with oversteer in mind, so it'll be interesting to see how the pizza guy deals with this car. But let's find out in 3, 2, 1, go. Good start, although we don't really have a whole lot to measure it against. Going into these first couple jumps, it looks like it is taking it relatively well. Cars like the Accolade are going to have a little bit of a tougher time in this course, seeing as they don't really have a whole lot of suspension play, but it looks like it's taking these speed bumps relatively well. Okay, I take that back. It literally just used one as a ramp. Down to the closest thing to a speedway on this course, but it's still riddled with pop holes. Going down to the next fast section and taking that corner rather loosely. Yep, and she's spun out. Back down the next, almost straight away, but not quite, and into the mud pit, which is actually going very smooth. That was just a nice glide right through that section. Into the rocks. It's going to be hard to imagine any car taking that really all that well. Onto the next ramp, and looks like it landed it. Nope. Through the tunnel of whatever, the metal shack. I guess we'll call it the metal shack, and onto the next pothole straightaway. Through that tight corner bit, and onto the next section, and onto the toughest launch yet, which has, of course, flipped the car numerous times. But it looks to still be driving alright. Now it's just a wide bend through the gas station, nice and slowly, no reason to push through here, and off towards the finish line. Off the last ramp, lands pretty good, although it's tricky, it does land on speed bumps, but it looks like it has handled it okay. And it's running a little slow, it looks, it may have high-centered. It's pushing through here, but it's very clear that it's struggling at this point, and it has high-centered again. It looks like that front wheel is very bent and kind of prohibiting whatever ground clearance it already had. It does not seem to want to turn. I think that this may be the end of the Accolades run. So unfortunately, that is going to score the Accolade 0 points since it did not finish this event. Hopefully, it can still find a way to recover in the next event. Next up is the Cominturismo 1000. Now this car has earned itself a great reputation for handling, which was a big surprise, I'd have to say, considering that it's the Cominturismo, but handling isn't going to help it here. In 3, 2, 1, go. And it's off. Got a little bit of wheel spin there. Going into the first ramp section, it looks like it's not getting a whole lot of air, which isn't too surprising, but it's definitely making it easier on those landings. Nice and tidy through here. That's going to be no trouble for it as it handles fantastic. Same through this section. It looks like it got a little bit of a bump on the rear, but otherwise relatively unscathed. And this should also be literally no trouble for it. This suspension was built for rugged roads. Taking that corner a little wide, kind of pulling off a little bit of a drift there into the next quick section, avoiding those speed bumps and taking it down to the next straight. Building up some pretty solid speed here with the Cominturismo. And into the mud pits, that was anything but graceful. And it looks like it's going to be stuck. We're going to give it a little time to kind of work its way out. The cars are going to be allowed to be flipped as many times as required to get through these scenarios, in some cases even getting a little bit of a push, but it looks like it is working its way out slowly but surely, and it has gotten through, but it's lost a lot of time in there. That's not going to reflect well in the leaderboards. Into the rock section, that definitely gave it some lift, but it looks like it is pushing through. Off the next big jump, landed well. That is a very rigid car, as you can see. It was just violently shaking that whole time. On to the best thing that we have to a straightaway. Still riddled with potholes, but nonetheless, mostly straight. Looks like he's losing it a little bit at the end there, but nothing that cannot be recovered. In through the little banked turn section, it looks to be relatively quick, although I think it's fair to say the car has definitely suffered some damage up to this point and is probably not running at 100%. On to the last jump, it looks to be going well, and ooh, it looked promising and it has not landed well. Looks like that pothole has stopped, so I guess the pothole did do one positive thing. Moving on to this next set of speed bumps, looks like it has done a front flip. On to the next wide turn through the gas station, and then onto its last set of challenges in this lap. Things looking very well for the Cominturismo, pulling through nice and tidy. The entire frame looks, a little bit warped, but the car doesn't appear to be driving any worse for wear. Seems that front damage has definitely done a number to its ground clearance, as it is not taking those speed bumps like it wants to. Nonetheless, the pizza guy seems to be handling this well, just shaking it off. And continuing on, straight shot to the finish. The Cominturismo will be the first to complete this event. That is a good showing for Cominturismo, and hopefully will give it a good stake in this challenge. Next up to attempt this event is definitely going to be a struggle, and that is the Deluxobox. First off, we must applaud the bravery of the pizza guy for actually being willing to take this thing around this course, because every speed bump for this car is gonna be a ramp. But let's see how it does in 3, 2, 1, go. And first one, that was a full challenge for the Deluxobox. Going on to the first set of ramps, this should be interesting, and it has done front flips. But onto the second jump now, and landed with a lot more grace than the first one. Jump number 3, I'm expecting a similar story to the first one, as it's got quite some speed, and we're back to somersaults. Onto the nice section here, nice and smooth. Pizza guy is probably very thankful to get a break from the constant concussions, and they're probably going to return, and that was definitely a header. Driving away, looks like he's a little bit concussed now. He's gonna have to take that corner again, do it right this time. Going through not super gracefully, but it is better than has happened in the past. And takes us on to the dirt straight. Well, more of a curve, but it looks like it's still spun out. Nonetheless, it looks like it's recovered and is now proceeding through the corner. It looks a little bit out of shape, but it does seem to still be drivable. Going into this next corner, this next fast part of the track before the mud. And how is it doing? It looks like it's spun out again. But he's bravely continuing on toward the mud pits, struggling to get control, but he seems to be managing it. It does look like it's had a little bit of a beating. It's warped a little bit there, but into the mud, it looks to be not too successful. Past the mud section, into the next section with the rocks. This car should really struggle here, and it couldn't even get over the first rock. A little bit of struggling though, looks to have succeeded it, or not quite, may have spoke too soon. And now it's free. Through the next set of mud, hopefully not too much to sink to the Lexobox. And it looks like it may have gotten a bit stuck, but nope, a little bit of pushing gets it back out into the road and on to the next section of the track. This next ramp should prove a little difficult, and right into a rock, and the tire has continued on without the rest of the car. This is going to be difficult to come back from. The wheel has returned to say that, hey, I'm a wheel. Unfortunately, it looks like without that wheel, the Deluxobox is not going anywhere but in circles. I think that this will mean that the Deluxobox will score a did not finish in this event. Next up in this event is the Chupacabra. Now, personally, I think this thing is going to have the best possible chance at succeeding in this course, simply because it has the suspension of an absolute sponge, but a little more refinement than the Wayfarer. Anyway, in 3, 2, 1, go. Off to a good start. The first speed bump barely even moving the level of the car. The second 2 jumps, absolute butter. Swinging a little wide, turning is not its forte, but thankfully this is not a track that is really going to be super affected by a good racing line. Flying through the first part of the track, it is now coming down this kind of straight way. Coming into the next corner, hopefully we'll see a better corner here than it had earlier, and nope, still gone quite wide, but it is still definitely on a course for a great time, if I do say so. Flying down toward the mud, it looks like it's got a pretty good set of speed here. It might actually be able to just clear straight past all of this. And definitely doing some bumps, and that was a excellently passed part. Through the rocks, and not quite as fortunate there, but I think that with a little bit of a flip there and back on the road, it shouldn't affect it too badly. On to the next jump. Handled with ease yet again. Now through the metal shack, nice and smooth, and onto the ongoing straight. A little bit bumpy, but seems to be handling it well. This set of corners should also prove no issue. Nicely done. On to the most dreaded part of the track, that is the big launch section. Hopefully it will not lose too much time here. It seems to have taken that rather... I think that's the best that can be taken. It is still reeling from those bounces at the next section, and now flying out into the next corner, taking it incredibly wide, narrowly missing that tree. But now it's on an awesome course for the rest of this track. Coming through the gas station, nice and tidy. Moving on to the last jump. This should pose no problem for it, absolutely none, and on to the last section of bumps. Unfortunately, it did not seem to be able to stop in time, but I think that's the first major amount of damage the Chupacabra's taken this whole time. And now it is a clean shot to the finish. That is a stellar lap from the Chupacabra. Next up to attempt this event is the Fatale. Now, the Fatale has quite the reputation for being a little bit of a handful, so it'll be kind of interesting to see how the pizza guy can manage to tame this car, or if he can. In 3, 2, 1, go. Quick start off the line as expected. I mean, this car has got way more horsepower than it has any business having, to be honest. Taking the first few jumps about as smooth as you can expect. Through the first whatever section this is called, wonderful. And sliding down the main straight. Gotta say, this has been a very quick lap thus far, with a surprisingly small amount of struggle. It seems to actually be going very smooth. Into the mud pit, it looks to be handling this with, honestly, very high levels of capability. Through the rocks, again, surprisingly smooth. Off to the biggest jump yet in this part of the track, and a little bit rougher. Through the shack and onto the final other straight. Not even final, but it looks like it wasn't exactly doing it all that straight. And it has rolled. Back on the road, coming down to these tight corners here. These are a very quick section, it seems. And onto the straight to the biggest jump of them all. And this is going to be an experience. Let's see how it does. And it has wiped out. But landing on its wheels in the end and surprisingly rolling away rather smoothly. Coming into the last section through the gas, it looks like it might have spun out, but at this rate it seems to have done a very quick lap so far. I don't even think that's going to affect it. Going into the last area of this course, and now smashing into that. Is it too much damage? No, it is not. It is just gonna drive around and make its way towards the finish line. A straight shot now, very difficult to screw this up, and across the line. That was another accident happening right there, but all in all, a very quick lap for the Fatale. Next up is the Maklara. So this car definitely has a lot to prove. Coming off of a win in the last season, it definitely wants to score a lot of points here. So let's see. In 3, 2, 1, go. Good start. Very, very quick launch. Maybe too quick. But landing on its wheels and continuing on nonetheless. And again, maybe a little too quick. Back on the route, it is coming in here again, maybe a little too quick, but it seems to have managed its way through there. Pizza Guy definitely not playing it safe with the Maklara here today. Wow. It's getting air on the straightaways, pulling in a nice corner through there and into the straights. Coming into the mud section with a little too much velocity. It seems that it is sliding around more so than the Fatale was, but making it through and making it into the next rock section. Not too gracefully, but nonetheless, it has made it this far. Next jump, it is doing wonderfully fine, flying through the shack, quite literally. Onto the next straight. It looks a little bit unstable. Okay, it is escalated from unstable to train wreck, but it looks like we're back in business, coming through this section very quickly. Final big jump. This is going to be a big one. Completely clearing the landing area and going for quite the series of somersaults. Looks like it might be dead out here in the bushes, but nope, it is limping on regardless. Surprising resiliency we're seeing from the Maklara here, as it does not look like it has had the nicest time on this track. And we can clearly see this car is not having a good day. It looks like it has not quite made the corner into the gas station, and it does not look like it is going to be able to. Unfortunately, it seems the Maklara is unable to complete this track and will be scoring a did not finish. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Autopolitan 2. Stay tuned for part 2 to see the other 6 cars compete in this event. With only one event left in the season, points are becoming more valuable than ever. Again, we hope you enjoyed this event, and we hope to see you in the next one.